Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Talk with Antonio. I am your host, Antonio. And first and foremost, I would like to sincerely apologize right now. I am dealing with a very nasty cold. It's been going around. I guess it started with one of my loved ones. Then I got it. Then another loved one. It's been hitting pretty hard right now here in Southern California. Also, my girl got it, and it's sucky though. Like right now, I've been taking some medicine, I'm taking some tea, and hopefully I'll be better because I spoke to an old friend of mine today, and we had a discussion, and let's see what the future holds for this right now, based on what we talked about. So, yeah. So I apologize, people, if I sound super stuffy. Yeah, I'm very sick with a nasty cold. Luckily, it's not COVID, thank goodness, though. But anyhow, let's talk about... all right, this is going to be not scripted, unedited, raw. And this is not going to be like reading like some script like I used to, because right now I'm taking lessons from my girl. And she told me to be more raw, which I am going to be right now. I'm not going to read like no written questions and all that. It's just going to be like raw, straight up. Okay. Let's talk about Tony Khan and AEW. Honestly, people, oh my God, that guy, honestly, I don't know, is he like 30 something, 40? Like around, is he like around my age? And Jesus fucking Christ on a taxi cab, people. That guy honestly does not know how to run a wrestling company. I don't know if it's because maybe he's too young, you could say, because a lot of these people who run wrestling companies are like in their 40, like in their 50s or 60s or whatever. Like back then during the territory days, I know they were run by a bunch of old people. I'm not saying old, forgive me. Like they were like well in their late 50s, early 60s. I mean, they know what they're doing, you know. But let's talk about AEW. Okay, but before we talk about that, let's go back in time. Let's go back to the year 2001, March 26, 2001. I've talked about this in my old podcast, and I want to talk. I'm just gonna make a comment. Okay, March 26, 2001 is the day that pro wrestling died. And what do I mean is because that day, at that time, WWF, World Wrestling Federation, bought out their biggest competitor, World Championship Wrestling, or WCW. And one second. Sorry about that. But yeah, and that's when the day wrestling died, because Vince McMahon bought WCW for $2.6 million for mostly like the name of the rights, the tapes, all of it, not the wrestling company. Basically the wrestling company in general. And when WCW died, it created a whole monopoly in the world of pro wrestling. And I, for one, I was 17 years old when that shit happened. When that happened, I was young, you know. I was young and naive. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And when WWF won the war, I was happy because, look, my brother and me, when we watched wrestling, we were channel surfing. We were watching Monday Nitro. We were watching Monday Night Raw. We were switching channels. I mean, who isn't? People say, "Oh, I didn't switch." They are fucking lying. Everybody who were pro wrestling fans at that time were channel surfing. They were watching Raw, and when they would go to commercials, they would switch to go watch Monday Nitro, and then when they go to commercials, and they would switch back to Raw. We all fucking did that. That's the God honest truth, people. But when WCW was bought out, it created a monopoly, and I read in one of my old wrestling magazines that Vince McMahon finally achieved his dream of becoming the only pro wrestling company in North America. And I for one, I never. Now that I'm older, I think that's probably like the most stupidest thing you could ever do. Paul Heyman said that one time, and when he did that shoot style towards Vince McMahon, he said that Vince McMahon Sr., his father, went up to other territories and would go up to another wrestling promoter and shake the hand, and he would swear to them that he would never compete against them, and that his son would never compete against them. And when Vince McMahon Sr. died, Paul Heyman pointed to Vince Jr., you competed. Because he did. He wiped out all the territories. He bought out all of it. Well, the exception of what was known as Jim Crockett Promotions, what later would become WCW. WCW at that time became the second biggest wrestling company in the United States of America. So WWF and WCW were neck and neck. They were fighting for wrestling supremacy. And lo and behold, WCW did kick WWF's ass for 64 weeks, I believe, and they were the number one in the ratings. But then it all changed during the Attitude Era. That's when WCW started to decline little by little. And then when they were bought on in 2001, WWF became the only wrestling company. But later in May of 2002, that's when NWA, Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett founded NWA. Well, back then it was known as NWA TNA, Total Nonstop Action, would later become Impact Wrestling, then became TNA again. So there was an option, but I guess TNA would later become Impact took a downturn when Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came in, and that's when it took the company straight down the toilet. It was the second biggest. At that time, it was the second biggest wrestling promotion in the United States, but it was not what it was back in the early 2000s. I mean, when in 2009, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, correct me if I'm wrong, people, and the Young Bucks founded AEW, and who was the biggest one to be signed was Chris Jericho. And when AEW was founded, I mean, it was going pretty well. I watched their first pay-per-view, and then later on, Jon Moxley, who formerly known as Dean Ambrose, debuted in that pay-per-view. I mean, it was they showed up a lot of people like Bret Hart. I kind of forgot who it was. Bret Hart showed up presenting the brand new AEW World Heavyweight Championship belt, which was pretty cool. I mean, I think AEW has a pretty good looking belt, if you ask me. But when AEW was founded, that became the second biggest wrestling promotion in the United States of America, and Impact became third. So AEW and WWE became neck and neck. The second biggest promotion, and it was founded also by Tony Khan and Shahid Khan, the owner of the Jackson Jaguars. 1 second. Pardon. I have a clock here that has like Christmas theme. I know it's weird. I'm sorry, people. Yeah. So as I was saying, when AEW was founded in 2019, it was going well. It started pretty well, but later on, something happened between Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes that Cody Rhodes left AEW to go back to WWE. And I've spoken about this in the past. A lot of people, especially AEW, like super hardcore fans, or as I call them, the marks, were upset that Cody Rhodes left AEW to go back to WWE. I remember this one fellow, no names mentioned by the way, but he was just like this overzealous guy who was always wearing sunglasses, and even inside of the apartment, who was to be one of the biggest AEW marks, and he was poking fun at WrestleMania. I think it was WrestleMania 38 when Cody Rhodes returned to the WWE. I remember he was saying that it was an April Fool's joke. Just basically saying all these weird, like these dates and all that stuff. I even watched other YouTube videos when this dude was talking about it, and then he called Cody Rhodes a sellout, and then he should have gone to Japan. He could have gone to Impact. And I remember the one thing that really pissed me the fuck off about that guy. He said that that Cody Rhodes was a sellout, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, and Cody Rhodes went back because of the money. He did this because of his family." And he's like, "Fuck his family, fucking like what the fuck, really? Why would you say that?" And to me, that just shows a lot of immaturity. That Cody Rhodes, when he left, and this guy took it up way up his ass because he left because of more money. Well, yeah. Money makes the world go around. Are you fucking kidding me? He's like, for money? Of course for fucking money. And it's like this. When I was a kid, I've always used this metaphor when I was younger, but now that I'm older, I clearly was stupid back then. When I was 12 years old, I remember when Razor Ramon Diesel left WWF to go to WCW. And when I was a kid, I saw on WCW Monday Nitro, I'll never forget that. That was a pretty awesome moment when Scott Hall showed up. Then later on, Kevin Nash debuted like a couple of weeks later. And I used to say, why are they going to the other company? They're not being loyal. They should have stayed. And I remember watching the WWE DVD NWO Back in Black. I remember watching it, and I strongly paid attention to it. And Scott Hall said that when at that time they were part of the new generation, but the money was not going up. So Kevin Nash and Scott Hall succumbed to the lure of more money and decided to go down south to try their luck in WCW. And Scott Hall said that when he showed up in his first match at Madison Square Garden, the arena was half full, and his last match there was sold out. And he said that he wanted towards the end of the curtain call incident, when the whole clique showed up and they all gathered up and they hugged and they like in the ring, somebody recorded. Scott Hall said at that time in the DVD, said that he felt that they wanted to say goodbye to the WWF fans. It was like, thank you for your support all these years and goodbye. And they said that they broke kayfabe because they were trying to hurt the company because they were leaving. And he said that could be further from the truth. There was no bad intentions. It just kind of evolved. And then towards the end of that part, he says, I felt like I was selling out. Everyone knows the WWF's the place to be. But I had to do what I thought was best for me and my family. They take that guaranteed money from Ted Turner. Exactly. It's always about fucking money. People have to do what's best for themselves, and especially their family. They have a family. They have the wife and kids. Cody Rhodes has a wife and kid to support. And for this guy to say that, fuck his family, no, he could go fuck himself. And when Cody Rhodes returned to the WWE, there was a lot of salty AEW marks, and I saw when I was working that time, but I was keeping up on the phone, watching the pay-per-view via Twitter, and there was like a lot of people. Oh, Cody Rhodes went back. He's a traitor. This and that. I'm like, dude. And also, like right now, when AEW signed CM Punk. And that's another thing right now that I've noticed of how Tony Khan handled the situation with firing CM Punk because he feared for his life. Give me a fucking break, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? I hear that and I listen. I'm like, really, dude? Are you that much of a wimp? And the whole thing with CM Punk. Excuse me. CM Punk right now is signed to WWE. Yet somehow Tony Khan and the fucking young fucks, whatever they're called young bucks. I call them the young fucks. They decided to release the footage where CM Punk and at that time Jungle Boy, whatever the fuck that is, Jack Perry, whatever that guy's name is. He got into a fight with CM Punk, and you can see the footage that it was being separated by Samoa Joe and other people. And then when that pay-per-view where CM Punk fought against Samoa Joe, he knew that he was gone, so they fired CM Punk. And it's funny how this whole thing started of how like Tony Khan doesn't know how to act like a CEO or owner of a wrestling company. Because Tony Khan, I've noticed that he tries so hard to be all the wrestlers' friends. If you're gonna be a boss, you can't be friends with your wrestlers. I mean, yes, there are certain guys who are cool. Yes, I've noticed how. Okay, I will say this about Tony Khan. I mean, he does push wrestlers who are bigger stars than the way they were not pushed in WWE. I'll give you an example. Sting, when he showed up at WWE back in 2015, and late 2014. I'm sorry, at Survivor Series, Sting was treated in that company like he was a fucking less than. And I've spoken about that in the past in my own podcast of how WWE treated Sting like he was nothing. And they always to me when Sting signed with WWE, I've always saw that they just wanted to bury the last remaining big star of WCW. And they did. WrestleMania 31, he fought against Triple H. What did Triple H benefit from that match? Nothing. That was just it. And then he went to AEW, and AEW treated him like wrestling royalty. He got treated the way he so richly deserved. And to me, Sting was treated much better in AEW than when he was in WWE. That I'll say. But right now with the whole thing with CM Punk, I always see that oh my god. To me, they didn't know how to handle this because they really CM Punk had problems with the Elite, but CM Punk has come out in the open and said that he did not have a problem with Kenny Omega, none whatsoever. But it was just most of the issue with the young fucks and Hangman Adam Page, because there's that famous scrotum that happened where CM Punk just fucking shat on Hangman Adam Page and the executive EVPs. He just fucking shat on everybody. I enjoy watching that. Let's listen to it, people. Well, actually, I take it back. I take it back. This is not about the entire thing about CM Punk. I'm talking about how Tony Khan is handling the situation. How does he handles the wrestling company in AEW? Like when he fired CM Punk, he said that he quote unquote feared for his life, and yet somehow Tony Khan is always taking shots at WWE. And WWEs are no saints. They have taken shots at AEW, but not to a degree, to an extent. You know what I'm saying? They haven't really done that. But with AEW, every fucking week and every fucking show, they always take shots at WWE. And right now, when he introduced, what's his name? Jack Perry, whatever that fucker's name is, I forget. I don't know, and I'm not interested. Like I said, I don't keep up with the product. All I know is that I just hear whatever comes out on Twitter. I'm sorry, people. I'm extremely sick. But right now, when the Elite attacked Tony Khan, and then he came out with the neck brace, and then he came on the NFL Network, and they were doing the NFL draft, and they were interviewing Tony Khan, and something happened here with Tony Khan right here, and I just really, dude, really, 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 and I want you to hear this. This is when he compared WWE to Harvey Weinstein. Okay,
yeah, they changed the name a couple months ago to the Tony Khan driver. Maybe I should have seen it coming in hindsight.
Wait, you knew they changed it a couple months ago?
I mean, the clues were there. They called it the Tony Khan driver. I have a complicated relationship with Matt and Nick.
And right now they're showing how the young fucks are picking up. One of the young fucks is picking up Tony Khan, put him on a pile driver. There's Okada.
And Jack. Jack had been out of AEW for a while. I had sent him on an excursion to our partner in Japan where he did great things. I reinstated him Wednesday night on TBS by his own request. He repaid me by hitting me in the stomach with a microphone. Yeah. And then Matt and Nick pulled me up and gave me...
And you see how, in that clip, Tony Khan's really selling the neck brace like he's really injured, like quote-unquote doing kayfabe right now.
The Tony Khan driver, which is really a spike pile driver, it's one of the deadliest moves in pro wrestling. It's been banned in a lot of states. It's illegal in the state of Tennessee. And for them to do that to me in front of millions of people around the world and a great audience live Wednesday night on TBS, it scared me and it scared my family. And I just feel really lucky that I'm here at the NFL draft and with the Jaguars and able to still be working at the Jaguars and AEW right now.
Yeah, and you could hear the folks who came to your assistance yelling, what the hell are you doing? This is a billionaire. You got to be careful.
His father, Shad, came into the ring.
Yeah. Yeah. Does Shad tell you, like, you got to stay out of the ring? Like, is he concerned for your well-being here?
No, he was very angry at the people that assaulted me. My dad loves AEW, and he's a big fan of what we do Wednesdays on TBS and Saturdays, just like tomorrow night here in Jacksonville on TNT every week. He watches every show, and he never expected something like that. It's never happened before. You know, AEW, we've been doing this for 5 years. We are the most successful sports startup since the AFL. Pre-merger, there has not been a challenger brand that has gained as much market share as AEW in many, many, many years.
Right now, this is where he's gonna take a shot at WWE. Watch and listen to this fucking stupidity from this guy.
We are like the Pepsi of pro wrestling, and we're up against a really evil juggernaut. WWE is our competitor. That's who we're facing. AEW, like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE is like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And I'm really proud of it.
You can see right now, like when this fucker said that about WWE, like the commentators from the NFL Network, they're just immediately just gonna shut him up right now. Listen.
What we do down here.
I think. All right, Tony. We're gonna
hold on, real quick. What's the prognosis? What are the doctors telling you?
Well, you know, to be honest, I think you're going to have to tune in to AEW to find out what they have to say.
There we go.
Me.
You find out on TNT and TBS what my prognosis is and what's going to happen to me.
I'll tell you what, save all that stuff. Just tell us who you're taking tonight. We'll take that here. How about that?
Well, guys, you know, this is the NFL Network. There's a lot of people watching. I can't give out that kind of sensitive information. And also, a lot of things have to play out in the second and third round. And you can bet Trent and Doug and this great group, we're going to make good decisions and keep trying to make the team better. I think a lot of great things happening in Jacksonville this week.
Yeah.
You know, why would you fucking say that, especially on the NFL Network? You know? And he actually defended that comment. Okay, look. Okay, first and foremost, I am not defending Vince McMahon, none whatsoever. When he did what he did, okay, Vince McMahon created something big. He's a genius. I'll say that, but he's fucking stupid. And like I said before, I am not defending WWE or Vince McMahon. I'm not defending Vince McMahon whatsoever. But there's a time and place for this guy to say this, and the NFL Network was not the right place to say that. And to me, that right there, it proves that Tony Khan is, I'm sorry for saying this, he is immature and a fucking buffoon. And he actually doubled down on defending his comments. It says here that, this is the article from CageSideSeats.com. It says here that AEW President Tony Khan defends controversial comments about WWE. The saying that any press is good press seems to hold true. Tony Khan, president and owner of All Elite Wrestling, continues his media appearances after his recent criticisms of WWE during the NFL draft. Speaking to TMZ Sports, Khan was questioned by Dean Mutati, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, formerly known as Mojo Rawley in WWE, about the reaction to his controversial remarks about WWE on the NFL Network. He said, and I quote, "Well, I think we got tons of coverage for AEW, and I think it's important to say that I think AEW is the best wrestling company in the world in many ways," said Khan, unquote. No. Okay, look. I've said in the past in Twitter, yes, I want AEW to succeed. I want both Okay, I'm sorry. I take it back. I want both WWE and AEW, hell, even TNA to succeed. It doesn't really matter who is the best. But if Tony Khan says that they are the best wrestling company in the world, that really sounds that sounds way far-fetched, people. The best wrestling company in the world? Okay. Stone Cold Steve Austin said this in 1998 during an interview with Michael Landsberg. When he was in WCW, he even said that if you're working in WCW, making good money or not, that the World Wrestling Federation is the show and is the big time, and that's the bottom line. I mean, every pro wrestler everyone who aspires to become a pro wrestler, yes, you have to start at the bottom. If you're wrestling in the independents and then you get signed for another wrestling company, you go to Japan. I mean, hell, if you go to Japan, you make it there. That's good though. Kurt Angle said that if you can't get signed by any of the American companies here, you can always go to Japan and go work 10 weeks a year, still make a good living. Yes, but in reality, we got to be wrestling people who are training have to be realistic. If you want to be a pro wrestler, like if you want to make it to the big time, WWE is the show. And for Tony Khan to say that they are the best wrestling company in the world, that sounds far-fetched for me. It says here that he is using the opportunity to promote AEW and its wrestlers. Khan took a shot at WWE saying, like he said in the video, quote, and I quote, "We're up against a really evil juggernaut. WWE is our competitor. That's who we're facing. AEW is like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE is like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. I'm really proud of what we do down here." Unquote. He was immediately interrupted by the NFL's commentary, which they did. To me, there's a time and place to say stupid shit like that. But in an NFL, just to say that stuff, to me, Tony Khan definitely has a fucking agenda. It's stupid, you know? You gotta be better, Tony, you know? Do better, you know? Like if you're so focused, you know what AEW is becoming, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this comment, but I believe that AEW is becoming WCW 2.0. I could be wrong, you know, but I'm just saying this as a fan of pro wrestling. I saw the mistakes that happened in the past with WCW. WCW was losing money all the fucking time. Even Jim like wrestling minds like Jim Cornette. I don't know about Eric Bischoff. I have my reservations about that guy. But a lot of people say that excuse me, I'm sorry. A lot of people say that Eric Bischoff bankrupt WCW. That to me that's a little bit hard, you could say, because Eric Bischoff was ousted by WCW in 1999. That's when they brought in Vince Russo, and we all know how that guy handled WCW. But there has been a lot of stories of what bankrupted WCW, what killed WCW. A lot of people blame Eric Bischoff. A lot of people blame Vince Russo. What's his name? Cyrus, I believe. I forgot this dude's name. Fuck, what is it? Don Callis, there you go. Said at one time that what killed WCW was bad ideas. Bad creative ideas killed WCW. I mean, me personally, I believe that WCW had a lot of things kill that wrestling company. It's not just one. It was not just one thing, you know. It was a lot of factors that what killed WCW. And like right now, Tony Khan, to close this, I would like to say that Tony Khan right now needs to stop focusing on becoming WCW 2.0 and just become their own wrestling company. Just become AEW. Stop trying to be more like WWE. They're trying to take shots every time. I don't agree with that. Yes, competition, anything goes, but for Tony Khan for all the time to say WWE this, WWE that, taking shots. Yes, WWE has taken shots at AEW in the past, but it's not too frequent. Like right now, with the whole CM Punk fiasco, Tony Khan and the Young Fucks, I'm sorry, knew that CM Punk is in WWE. And CM Punk right now, yes, he is injured, but you can tell he's having a ball back in WWE. Like right now with the whole storyline with Drew McIntyre, and he's having a ball there. And yet somehow they release knowing that CM Punk is no longer with AEW. Yet they take shots at the guy. They're just like CM Punk said a comment and currently said that I would say that AEW is like the ex-girlfriend you can't get rid of. That when they use that comment, people, I swear that really made me laugh. So yeah, so that about wraps up for this week's podcast. Right now I am talking to more people, and stay tuned. Like right now, if you want to find me, look me up on Twitter or X, whatever I still call it Twitter, talkwithantonio.com. Or if you have any questions you want to ask me, send it to my email at talkwithantonio@gmail.com. Or you can find me at my new page of Blue Sky. And you can find me there. If you could tweet me or you could write messages on Blue Sky, do whatever you want. But right now, it's just like more work in progress. Right now, I feel much better being like, I just read just one little bit of an article about this whole fiasco with Tony Khan. I'll say is 2 words: fucking idiot. So yeah, so that about wraps up for this week's podcast, and I will see y'all later. Have a good night, and hopefully when I come back, I'll be much better. And I'm sorry if I apologize because I sound so stuffy with this stupid call. So have a good night, guys, and thank you.